understand is how they came in.
Well, is that legal?
Mr. Rieman, I know you had questions about this. Would you like to come forward and
May I?
please?
May I? Thank you. Jerry Rieman, 1044 Joy Road. There are, if you make the appropriate count, a request for some 108 variances. Sorry, thanks for the reminder. Thank you. There is a request now submitted by Landsong for some 108 variances in total, given 22 homes to be built on the John Glenn property. Now, apparently, Planning Commission as well as the Zoning Board of Appeals have passed blanket variances to cover the 108 required variance, the total of 108, instead of issuing or requesting individual variances per home, which would again have been 108. My question to you at this time, A, is that legal?
I don't believe there's 108. There were 22 lots. All of them did not require all 4 variances. I mean, that's my recollection.
That's not as shown in the documentation. The lot size requires 20 variances, and that's what provides the -2, if you will. All the other variances requested are applied to the total of 22 homes or lots.
Okay, 66, 20, 86. Okay. But in any event, that's about 86. Doesn't matter the number in terms of what we're talking about. It is legal, and I think what you brought up at the zoning board.
What makes it legal?
Well, I think what you brought up at the zoning board was that you thought it was a rezoning of the property by doing
Well,
such
let's
a.
talk about that. That's
Okay.
exactly what's happening.
Okay.
Given the number of variances requested, and given their application, in most cases, to 22 lots / 22 homesteads, if you will, constitutes rezoning. That's illegal. You can't rezone via variances. You can't. It's illegal. And what has happened, given our Planning Commission, as well as our Zoning Board of Appeals, and their rubber stamps, they have approved both the plan as well as the variances requested. I suggest to you, that's illegal. That's committing fraud. Mr. Mayor,
May I respond
and your
to-
groups, would you respond to that, please?
Yes, please. When you talk about rezoning, in the law, we talk about use and area variances and ordinances. So when you talk about rezoning, you're talking about a use of the property. And here, the proposed use of the property is in accord with what that property is zoned for. It's zoned for residential. So there hasn't been any change in the use. So there's been no rezoning on use. When you have a property owner that requests variations to the code with regard to area, meaning size or setbacks, those are called area variances, and they aren't considered a use rezoning because it's something separate. So that's what I'm.
Say that last part again. One more time, please.
About the area variances?
Yes.
Okay. When a property owner comes in and requests a variance to the code requirements with regard to area, for example, setbacks or size of lots, that's considered a request for an area variance. Sorry. It's considered a request for an area variance, which is not considered rezoning. Rezoning is when you refer to a use of the property. So here they're requesting to use it as residential, and it's zoned already as residential. That doesn't change with an area variance request on setback.
So this person can come in and do anything he chooses to do. He can present you with this ludicrous plan, this self-serving plan, so he can maximize his profit, and the city has to comply? Is that what you're telling me?
No, not at all. They've come before the city and requested area variances, and the zoning board is bound by the law in listening to the evidence presented and determining whether they presented proof of practical difficulties. And under the law, if they have, if the zoning board considers that, then they're entitled to grant that variance.
Do you or do you not? Let me direct this question to everyone on the dais, if you will. Do you or do you not consider a request for 86 variances to be in accord with our city requirements? Do you think that's excessive? Given the process we have to go through here, is that number excessive to you? Anyway.
Does anybody want to comment on
I mean, you're dividing the 86 amongst 22 properties.
That's not, just 86 variances, it's okay.
Divided amongst 22 properties.
The variance, if you look at the variances individually, some require a total variance pushing 50% for lot size across the board. That's okay? It doesn't matter?
We've got to deal with each one on an individual basis.
Right, but you're not. You have blanketed the acceptance of the variances. That's what's wrong, too. Comments? Have you seen the documentation provided by Landsong's legal representative on the last occasion we spoke? Have you seen any of that documentation, Council? Have you looked at it? Really? Again, you don't care?
Sir,
30%, 44%, 45%. That doesn't bother you?
well, it
Yes or no?
doesn't, I can't answer that yes or no. There are reasons. Everybody sitting out in that audience knows that I was a supporter of the assisted living facility, and I still think that that wasn't a bad idea. But 22 houses, you guys wanted homes, and actually, in Seven Hills, we don't have a lot of lots that are smaller. For those people that do want a smaller lot, I don't think this is a bad thing. I really don't. It has nothing to do with who's developing it. It has to do with the fact that we don't have a lot of diversity in Seven Hills on lot sizes and types of homes. I think this could be a plus. There are a lot of younger people that want to move into a smaller lot. They don't want to have a lot of yard work. So I don't see this as being something that affects the residents that live away from here, except those actual people that back up and have that 40-foot instead of 50-foot lot size in the back. I see this as people that are going to be moving in there. And I don't see that as a bad thing here in Seven Hills. That's me personally. That's just my personal opinion.
That's fine, and I appreciate what you're saying. And I believe that you're essentially correct with regard to lots, some of the lot sizes and things like that. That's all right. But again, the degree of variance requested, percent of degree variance requested next to ludicrous, 44%. Now, one lot size is 8,900 square feet. Come on, what kind of house are you going to put on that? This is not, don't misunderstand where I'm coming from. Please, let me say this. With regard to the plan submitted to our planning commission for its review and approval, Landsong has every right to submit any type of plan they choose to submit. I think that's recognized by all of us. We have no problem with that. The problem with this plan as it sits, if you will, is overly ambitious and it serves only the developer to maximize his profit. I know of no one, those associated with this issue, who does not want to see the property developed. No one has ever indicated to me that they don't want this property to be developed in a residential manner, for residence manner. However, it needs to be done right, and I suggested to you that there are problems with the plan as submitted. You need to do due diligence like you've never done before, because you're going to find there are issues which will be identified shortly with regard to snow removal, safety, hazards. It goes on and on. If you've ever thought about doing due diligence, now is the time to do that. And again, we want to move ahead with this. Don't let me leave you with the wrong impression, but it must be done in an orderly fashion for the best results for all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Rieman.
Thank you, Jerry.
Does anybody in the council want to comment?
Yay, Jerry.
Any of that? Or should we move forward?
I think it's important to keep in mind that council's charge is to decide if the board of zoning appeals simply abuse their discretion. And I think I agree. I think Darren said it best when he says the only people that are going to be impacted by these variances are the people that buy the homes, and if they don't want a small